Hello, my name is Francis Fox, and this is a chat that gets converted into a podcast, but it's really a telenovela. What is a telenovela? It's a very dramatic soap opera that, of course, is not true. So, a lot of what I say here, just if it's upsetting to you and it's beyond what you can take in, then you can just say it's a telenovela. I'm skilled in the other dimensions due to having been involuntarily put in a secret mind control program by the US military. Um, I learned a lot of things, and the most important thing I learned was interspecies communication, which the US government used me for. And there have to have been a lot of other mind control victims that were used for that. Because the issue with the mind control training abuse is they make it so awful that the only way you can escape, because you know you can't go to the police, you can't go to your parents, you can't go to anybody, you escape in your mind into other dimensions. And that develops your psychic skills. That's why the US military has that test. They give all the people that want to come into the military, and they can tell from that test who's going to be skilled in the other dimensions. I don't know what questions they ask, but they can tell. And those are the ones that they target for mind control programs or to do stuff that regular, nice people would not be doing. That needs to stop. Anyway, I have a degree from the University of Miami in political science. Why on earth do they have the nerve to even give courses like that? I don't know. But all that's going to stop. All these revelations, everything that doesn't make any sense because it wasn't supposed to make sense, it was a way of controlling us. All of that is going to stop. So we won't be having people graduate the way I did and going, what the hell was that all about? So I also started and ran a business for 30 years very successfully. And as soon as I realized that, and I said it, I was at a very ritzy party that I gave because we had at that point a very ritzy business. And somebody came up and said, "Oh my God, how did you get all of these great clients that are so well to do?" And I kind of looked at her and I said, "Well, we do everything at a level. All of our advertising and marketing is done that for the comfort of this type of client." But as soon as she walked away, I said to the person that was standing next to me, "If the day I die, somebody says, 'Wow, she was such a great retailer,' I said, 'I want to die again.' I said, 'This cannot be the reason why I was born.'" And that is when I started to be very dissatisfied with my business. And I said, I want to do what it is that's going to make me feel really good. And I did the mission mantra, which I have modified it now to make sure that you make enough money. People on mission before were poor because they were spiritual. No, no, not today. These are the words, and then I'm going to continue. Please, God, help me with my intention to align with my miraculously prosperous mission. You repeat the words in silence, you expel the breath through your mouth, and you don't have to do it that often. And it is the mantra of all of the hundreds of mantras that I teach, that I've been teaching for decades. It's the one that gives the quickest relief. And today, I believe that Elon said in one of those big deal old white men meetings, um, he said, we can't just be around just to live. There has to be a reason why we're born. And there is. We all have a mission. I'm totally aligned with mine. What about yours? Do the mantra. Next. We have been working with the energies of Venezuela since 2017. It turned out, and I did not remember it, that in 1969, I was going to do a thesis on institutionalized violence as a form of governmental change. Institutionalized violence as a form of government change. I wanted to understand it. I didn't continue with the thesis. I opened the business that I was in for 30 years. I dropped it. I dropped out. A little bit ashamed of that, but would have never worked for me. So I walked away. But what we've been doing with Venezuela since 2017, without even knowing it, was preparing Venezuela to become solid in the other dimensions so that they could have a peaceful transition of government. And we've almost achieved it. We have worked diligently on it. In order to do that, we had to take care of some portals that Venezuela had in the south part of Venezuela, where the Higgs field was red with fire burning up, and there were openings in the Higgs field. That's what a portal is. So a Higgs field has been called for centuries the etheric webbing. It's called the life webbing. And you have an energy body that looks just like your physical, except it's with this webbing, and it's your immune system. If your etheric Higgs field body is not doing well, you're not going to do well. If a country has a Higgs field the way Venezuela's looked in 2017, I said, we can't make a difference here. This is too broken. If a country looks like that, they're going to go down. There's just going to be chaos because the Higgs field is grid after grid after grid laying aligned with each other, and the energy passes through in order. There are no big portals, big holes. Anyway, we achieved our mission. We were able to clear the Higgs field of that entire country and close the portal. By the way, the portal in the south of Venezuela, which was frightening to look at, was due to the toxicity of the people that worked in the mines. Their emotions they were not able to express. They just had to keep working. And in those mines, the owners only wanted people that were able to work the mines, which meant children, no, babies, no, old women, no, men who were injured, no, women who weren't too strong, no. They would kill them. And they got left only with able-bodied humans that could work the mines. And the rage of the people that were killed or that were alive and saw their loved ones being killed congested, and that's where you get the toxicity and the Higgs field breaks. Anyway, I'm not going to turn this into a class, except I already did. That's my style. Sorry about that. So, well, we have an issue now. I woke up 2 or 3 weeks ago and I could see that the Cuban cartel, which I used to call the Cuban mafia, were doing a ritual, a satanic ritual of on my spirit body, because my physical body was here in my home. And when I tracked it, it was in the morgue of a Catholic hospital in Miami that's on the water next to Grove Isle. So everybody will know what hospital it is. I have no issue in saying it because they will never go after me. They're actually going after me, sending hitmen, but that's not the point. They'll never go after me in court because everybody, very easily, if they just scratch the surface, is going to be able to find this out, starting with the people that are service people. And there's got to be hundreds of them. Okay, so where am I going with this? Because the next day I took this as an opportunity to teach my followers about the kind of things, because when you follow black magic, you're able to see how incredibly they can change reality. Yeah, it's black magic. I don't want that. But the way they do that can teach you about magic, which is what I want to teach you, and then you can apply it with good intentions. So anyway, the next night we went, and that's all on YouTube. And you can get it translated now. YouTube backed off, and now you can translate my videos. You got to wait 24 hours, but you can get them. You can get the subtitles or whatever they call them. And they were able to see that was a lot more going on. They had refrigerators full of organs for organ trafficking and for rituals, and a zillion other things. And we were able to see, I don't remember if it was me, if it was others in the group that also do remote viewing, we're able to see that the Vatican was aware of this, and this was part of a Vatican process. And it makes sense because the Vaticans and the Vaticans and the CIA in 1960 or 61 were the ones that, until that moment, had set up the largest sex trafficking network in history, which was the Operation Peter Pan. Oh, it's a Disney character. Yep. Operation Peter Pan was an operation with the CIA and the Vatican holding hands, and that the Cubans that came out of that were mind controlled, and they hold hands with the Vatican, so that we would have seen the satanic ritual being done on my spirit. They had a dead body on the table, but they were putting my photograph inside crevices in the dead body, so it would be like my energy was there, and then whatever else they were going to do, who knows. Um, so the Cuban cartel, the Cuban mafia, have always throughout since the 60s held hands with the Vatican. So it makes sense. We have been going back to the Vatican several times, and I keep asking my master, I said, listen, I really don't want to irritate the Vatican. And they keep saying, go back, go back, go back. And we go back. And what do? We bring light. We bring what you think are mystical dragons. Okay. You believe in angels. So we go back, we bring light, da 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 da. So yes, we did it again last night because my master said, go back. And I'm like, why? There's already a cardinal that's getting excommunicated because he says the Catholic Church does satanic stuff. We're in Revelations. It's going to come out. Why me? But we went back. I'm pretty obedient. All of a sudden, in the middle of the whole thing, this thing happens. I can't describe what this thing is. And I said, Venezuela? What? Venezuela? Well, here's the news. The Vatican has big plans for Venezuela. Huge plans for Venezuela. They just made 2 Venezuelan people saints. 2, I think at one time. I don't know if that's ever happened before. Maybe it has. I don't know. That's why my masters wanted me to keep going back there. Because the same way all the cartels weaponized a hurricane, I think it was Melissa recently, to be able to kind of wipe out Cuba because they want to set up their new bases in Cuba. The Vatican is looking, I don't know that they're looking for a new base, I have no idea, but they have big deal plans for Venezuela. So Trump, if you are taking care of the Caribbean with your big boats, don't let this slip under your radar. Because it seems to me that all these cartels work together. And it was important. The whole thing with Venezuela, I'm not Venezuelan. I know Venezuelans because I live in Miami, but it's not like I'm hooked on Venezuela at all. But there is something about Venezuela being allowed to choose their destiny that is very important for the process of planet Earth. And Vatican does not want them to choose their destiny. What exact plans they have, I don't know. But Trump, if you pay attention to them, you're going to be able to stop it. And while you're at it, put a call in and tell them to stop sending hitmen and all the stuff that they're doing to me. Stop working on my third eye because they don't want me to be able to see what they're doing. Hey, give me a break, Trump. Communicate with them and tell them, hey, she doesn't look like she's so crazy. I have an expression. Throughout many years, people used to say I was crazy. Está loca. That's in Spanish. And then after about 10 years ago, I used to start saying, La loca no está tan loca, which means the crazy lady, she's not so crazy. By the way, the people that you thought I was crazy, you know who the people are that actually follow me? The wealthiest people on the planet, the people that run very large countries, the people that run very large companies. And the other group are mothers. Because mothers have really great instincts. The people that tend to think that I'm crazy, let's say not now, let's say they don't say that now, but they did, are very conservative people that need to fit into society. And believing in somebody like me, this is like a little bit of a problem. Well, it's not a problem for big deal business people. It's not a problem for people that run large companies and countries. It's a problem for the person that's worried about what other people are thinking and that is only going to move forward with established knowledge. And we're in Revelations. And the world is exploding with new knowledge. So they are going to get left behind anyway. So Trump, please take care of put a call into the Vatican, mention my name. They should stay off even in the other dimensions. They probably should be afraid that something happened to me because I think the first place people are going to look is at them because I've done so much screaming about it. But so I guess maybe they could start doing rosaries so that nothing happens to me on the physical dimension. On the other dimension, they work nightly. They're no longer doing the rituals on me In the Vatican, we found that around the Vatican, there are 6 blocks that are completely brain dead, everybody who lives there, because of the radionics machines, the frequency weapons that are used to keep that 6 blocks, that's got to be thousands of people, asleep. In one of those apartments is where they're working on me and a few other people. And remember that when we went downstairs, before this whole thing became a big scandal and the Vatican knew what we were doing, so they figured they must hide the important stuff, they had a room for all the big countries, and they would work on all the big people in those countries, in those particular, in other words, the United States would have a room, and they would determine who's the most dangerous to them, which would be Trump, and then would be who else, and they would work on them in those rooms. I had my own little room. It was little, but I had my own little room. These are the kind of things that, you got to have a sense of humor. Okay, so now we're going to get to the reason why we are here today. The other day, I was looking at MAMDANI, who won the election. I was not happy at what I saw, and darn, if I don't have that graphic here, I'm going to shoot myself. Here it is. It's actually behind me. New York City looked just like Venezuela looked in 2017, and Venezuela was basically a hellhole. And we cleared that. And we've worked twice on New York, so New York is 1,000 times better now. But let me show you what we found with Mandami, and it's really Mandani. It's really very good news. We're having such changes of frequency on the planet. You must stay on top of what's going on with the Schumann resonance. The changes are unbelievable. And it's up, up. Our ascension process, our vibration is up. And the people that are lying and all the rest of that, they stay down, down. So the gap is going to be so big, just like the Bible said, the gap between the people. There's some that will be lifted up, Schumann resonance changing. So this object that you see, that's a Star of David shape, which is a symbol from 6,000 years ago. The Jews took it on as their symbol very intelligently 2,000 years ago. And it's like a talisman of protection. But we have an energy body that looks like that, which I'm going to put on screen right now for just 1 second. Here's your physical body all the way on the left, and then you have your Merkaba, which is the Star of David, all the way to the right. Okay, the process today, okay? And then I put here what chakras go with which one of the triangles. Okay, the process today is a union of the 2 triangles that create the Star of David. Here's the trick. In Mandami, his vector that reflects his physical life, that vector, the one at the bottom that points up, channels the energies having to do with your physical life. The root chakra, which is prosperity, whatever, sacral, which is sexuality, spirituality, solar plexus, which is personal power. It has a lot of black magic. That's not good, but that would be true for practically everybody in high-level business, high-level politics. But look at all the red. But that's not the big issue. The other triangle is coming down. It's the purple next to my head. It is doing what is happening with everybody today, which is a union of our spiritual life and our physical life. So in the physical life, Mamdani is podrido, which means toxic. That's yesterday. We worked on it. I should have sketched it before now. He's very cursed and he's very angry, which is a perfect match for New York City, called the City of Hate. So his spiritual vector with the point pointed down is totally spiritual, but they're not together. He's got a split in his personality between spiritual and his rage having to do with physical, which would be his rage at rich people, his rage at why the poor people can't get everything for free, whatever it is that he believes in. That is a problem. But we worked on it, and we did a really, really, really good job. And actually, I'm going to sketch it now. And I have I need one of those sketches, and I will stand up for a second and I'll sketch it. But wait. So we worked on it yesterday, and it was wonderful, and the change in him was great. And at the end, Trump, what we saw was him smiling, him and his wife, because we ended up working on both of them. I said, we cannot purify. We don't change people. That goes against free will. We purified stuff. We reduce the amount of fire, which is what shamanism does, and Ayurveda and Chinese medicine, except shamanism, Ayurveda and Chinese medicine, people in this country will never say that, because you Anglos, you can't take that because you don't even know what the four elements are. And if you go to your doctor and say, you know what, I think I have too much fire, that's why I got cancer, your doctor is going to say, give me a break, you've been on the internet too long. So you can't. Anyway, we cleared a lot. And at the end, he was sitting on the edge of his bed, tired, because if you have a lot of fire, you got a lot of energy. And if you reduce the fire, like with cannabis, Trump, you can be more tired and fall asleep during meetings, which means you need to be out on the golf course, Trump, more. But anyway, and he was sitting there, and I got this. He's going to be very happy, Trump, to communicate with you, but mainly he's going to be really happy if you invite him to an event, like a social event. I don't know what, maybe he's a very social person. I did not look up what his astrological sign is. But once we did, excuse me, not a good time to have the hiccups. Once we did the purification, his attitude completely changed. If you have a baby that is screaming in the middle of the night, their elements are not balanced. They have too much fire for whatever reason. You take that baby and you dump them in the shower. They won't continue to cry. Oh yeah, they relaxed. That's a symptom. Yes, they did relax. Why did they relax? That's why you have to follow Francis Fox. The water put out the fire. Cannabis puts out fire. But we didn't. Yeah, we did do cannabis. We planted cannabis around him. I don't remember everything. It's on the internet. It's on my YouTube channel. You can follow us every step of the way. And I didn't do anything additional to what I did there, or we did there. So I'm going to sketch it now, and we're going to see. I'm going to put this while I stand up to sketch it, to get, which is right here. There. And I did this yesterday at 2:22. So this is important. That's a magical master number. Well, that's interesting. I cannot find it, but I will print it up. Give me 1 second. I printed up 10 of them. Here it is. It is here. Okay, so I'm not very organized. That's okay. Actually, when you're creative, creativity is a lack of order. You have to have everything go into disorder, and that's where you can come up with something new. The creative people are generally not very organized. Hold on. So I'm going to sketch him right now because I did not do that yesterday. Yesterday I was upset about the thing with the Vatican. Not what they were doing to me, even though that is upsetting, but because I have no intentions of dying and I have no intentions of getting hit, of getting injured. Whatever their intentions are cannot override my intentions. So, actually, he is a lot better this morning. I don't know if he got a lot of accolades. This is pink. I did fuss a little bit around with the black magic. So this is how, versus what you're seeing behind me. No black magic. I did take care of that. and then pink, which is love, which was what he immediately turned into. So this is not a bad guy. This is a guy that is suffering from an imbalance of elements and who ended up in a city that is a perfect match. New York City has been called the city of hate by Europeans for 20 years. Now, how come we didn't recognize that? Because we have too much hate in this country. Everything got too hot. Do you know why it got too hot? Because we have too much electronic equipment, which radiates fire, and we didn't know about balancing the elements. That's why cannabis is so important. Now, I want to sketch the other vector, but these vectors have got to have a name. I'm very, you know what? I have a lot of mind control programming to not remember people's names, so that if people end up in court, they say, "Do you know this guy?" The name, I don't remember their faces. I don't remember names, so it's hard. Actually, this is good. Okay, Trump, look at this. Look at the way he looked yesterday. I'm going to get out of the way, okay? And look at it today. He's much more aligned. Wow. We did that last night. So, Trump, I want to give you a gift. Y la loca no está tan loca. In other words, the crazy lady's not so crazy. I'm going to give you a gift. I invented a peace symbol. A peace symbol that is a symbol that takes into consideration the fact that we are no longer going to just be planet Earth with human beings, and those are not just beings from off planet. We are going to augment, our energy field is going to rise, and we're going to be functional, some of us, in higher level dimensions, which is where superpowers are. Normally, people that don't believe in superpowers call them miracles. You change reality without moving. How did you do that? Well, with the mind, which is what is always created miracles. Short point. A mother sees her son under the wheels of a car from an accident. Nobody's there to help. The mother is overweight, never been to the gym a day in her life. She sees her son under the wheel of a car. He could die there. All of a sudden, she's able to pick up the car and get her kid out. You've heard stories like that many times. That is focused intention of the mind, which is what I'm teaching people. But once you get into the higher dimensions, which is what's happening now with the Schumann resonance, you can do it so much more easily. So I don't even remember how the whole process started because I do entirely too many things at a time. I invented a new peace symbol, because we are no longer going to be just human beings like we've always been. There's going to be some of us that are going to be changed and have access to what the galactic beings have. We call them aliens, and then they used to call them gods. So then the peace symbol for Earth doesn't really work anyway because we're not real peaceful. So I am going to dedicate it to you, Trump. And this is a symbol that I know from my intuition that is going to be around for hundreds of years. So let me show it to you. Hello. That's the peace symbol. It is the Ankh from Anubis, who's the god of the underworld. And it's different from the Christian cross. It is the Christian cross, but it's different. And Anubis did this, not me, because it's got the circle at the top. And why does it have the circle at the top? Because even Jesus did not have protection of his third eye. Remember the third eye? So I chose the cross, the Ankh, which is Anubis cross, the Egyptian. Remember, they worked a lot with ETs. And then I had the artist, Nicole Gottwals, who is incredible, extend the center axis, which is, by the way, the Holy Grail, and make it pointy like a stake. because in the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic, it does not say protect us from evil. It says help us to be in the present, which means grounded and rooted. So then I put that on the cross, and then I wrapped a canvas sleeve around it. You cannot have a war or a fight and a lot of diseases, which I'm not going to name, unless there's an excess of the fire element. So if you can have a peace symbol, but if everybody has too much fire, you're still going to have war. World War I and World War II started when there was a cycle of a lot of solar flares and there was too much fire. And you can look at that up. There were scientific studies. It wasn't done by people that you would not trust. So this new peace symbol is the combination of the Ankh, which was done by the Egyptians that know all about the underworld, which we're going to find out soon enough, as soon as we're allowed into the whole North Pole. What are they hiding up there? And then we have reference and reverence of what the original Lord's Prayer said, which is help me to be grounded. And then we have something that can miraculously reduce fire, because without fire, there cannot be a war, an argument, or hatred. And that's what we did to Mandani last night. We reduced the fire. I removed the excess, the black magic. And then the love came through. Not only the love came through, because so interesting, he's going to want to be invited to social stuff. I don't know what his astrological sign is, but he must be very social. I didn't draw a map of the United States. I didn't have time, but I will do it for tomorrow. And I'm going to try to be on here 5 days a week to give you that map for you so that you can know Trump and everybody else who's moving in the direction that I like, that regardless of all the insanity, we've got a solid base, which is what important. A solid base, but you got to reduce the fire. You have to reduce the fire. What's going on with the whole thing with the cannabis and the marijuana? You can't reschedule it. It doesn't make any sense. The people in the future are going to look and go, what would those people scheduled a sacred plant like mustard, like rosemary? They scheduled it and classified it as a drug. You know why? Because it's a multidimensional herb. And the bad guys know that, and they don't want you to be able to see what they're doing in the other dimensions, such as the black magic. And they want you to know that this guy apparently maybe like a fun guy once you can get the fire down. So anyway, we took care of a lot of the fire in New York City, and we will continue to work on it. And I'm going to finish this by saying it is my honor, Trump, to dedicate this symbol to you. Now, the name of the symbol is the Fox Peace. Why? And I'll say why. Because I asked my masters, I said, I want to put my name on it. And they said, you are the only one at this point that understands that there are human beings that are no longer just human beings, but they are now able to live in and have the advantages of knowledge of additional dimensions, even though they continue to be human beings, but I guess you could call us superhumans. So my master said, if you don't put the name on it, somebody else is going to do something with it. And then their explanation is going to be thrown around and people will not understand. That made sense to me. Made sense to me. So Trump, this is dedicated to you. You could use a break. It's an awful lot going on, and you have a lot of people. You have a lot of people just simply not understanding. Because honestly, human beings, bottom line, we all want the same thing. We don't have the details. We don't understand. And that's what's so good about Revelations, except it's all a little bit much. Okay, so reminder, call the Vatican, tell them to lay off of me from the other dimensions and the physical, figure it out what it is that they plan on doing in Venezuela. And the whole Cuba thing, it's not the fault of the Cubans that are there. Cuba has been like a little football that has been jerked around by political people. Okay, thank you for following me, joining me. Thank you.